Whoa, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, ready, set. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time again for this week's unfiltered news from the reality zone, where political correctness is not spoken here, compiled by G. Edward Griffin and his News Scouts. For this week, December 8th through the 14th, 2012. And in this week's comic strip, we get the comic photo of this week is, "What happened to the one I just got you?" Christmas list, new debt ceiling. And then Obama says, "I broke it." Doesn't that say everything? Anywho, let's get to the headlines for this week of news you may have missed. And headlines, starting out with December 14th and regressing back a week. Today, U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta signs order to send 2 batteries of Patriot missiles to Turkey. He says it is to protect Turkey from Syria. The reality is just the opposite. The Obama administration has taken an aggressive stance against the present Syrian regime and is looking for a pretense for military action against it. Don't you know? Yahoo, December 14th. Also today, shooting in Connecticut. Yes, again, another shooting. 27 dead. 18 suspected children dead. What's it? Is it? Another one. Another mass shooting. But this time, again, the medicine cabinet? You think they're going to tell you that? They're going to tell you that this guy was probably a person on Prozac or something? Just like the guy at the mall who his girlfriend said he was happy just about a week or two ago, and suddenly he disappears for a week or so. Isn't this what happened with the Arizona shooter also that shot Gifford? Then he disappear for a week or so and suddenly reappear and go on a shooting spree to kill her. And I mean, just think about that. People are being snatched off, taken to MK Ultra or something, and let go. As like a, I don't know, like Telephone. They're Manchurian candidates. Basically, they've been brainwashed to do these things. Or, as I said, their medication got to them, and they finally went out on a killing spree. Because that happens, especially if you just suddenly stop taking it, or if you take too much. You can go into psychotic breaks like that and go nuts. And then we can't blame the guns. Don't blame a gun, because in Australia, a man with a knife just went on a knifing, or in China, that is. It was in China. He went on a knifing thing in a school and killed several children with a knife. So don't blame guns. Blame the person who's psychotic. It's like knives and guns don't kill people. People kill people. Remember that. Anyways, let's get on to the other written articles here. The other one is today happened. It didn't show up on the unfiltered news. Late entry, I guess. Next. The U.S. and the U.K. rejected the UN's revised International Telecommunications Treaty because it authorized censorship and control over the Internet by the UN. It's not that these countries object to government control over the Internet, because they both have been seeking exactly that for themselves. It's that they don't want to give up any of the power to the UN for now. Bloomberg, December 13th. Yeah, they want control over it, but they just don't want the UN to have it. Just like a lot of people realize we don't want the UN's constitution where they can give and take it in day by day. Today you have rights, tomorrow you don't. And that's the way the UN World Constitution is set up. Another one. Next article. Yet one more study. This one from the University of London links pesticides to bee death and colony collapse. That's right. Low-level pesticides are killing the bees off. I mean, if it gets on the corn, they use the corn silk pollen. A lot of them, bees go out to the cornfields, and if they're GMO even, and they've been sprayed with, Roundup, it's going to kill the bees as well. That's if it's Roundup type pesticides. Anyways, Natural Society, December 13th. Next, European Human Rights Court rules that the CIA tortured and sodomized a German man suspected of terror activity. This was based on a 6,000-page report that describes in detail the many torture techniques used by the CIA during the Bush administration. Guardian, December 13th. There you go, the Bush administration's torture thing that continues on. They just made torture a art to practice using Guantanamo Bay and other bases across the planet. Next, after the Fukushima disaster, Japan shut down its 50 nuclear power plants and vowed to stop using nuclear energy altogether. Now the Japanese government is investing in uranium from Uzbekistan, indicating that the country really intends to continue using nuclear power because it's the cheapest form of energy. However, this article claims that nuclear energy actually is more expensive than other forms when all the hidden costs are included, such as government subsidies for insurance, waste disposal, and liability for damage from malfunctioning reactors. Ask the Russians about Chernobyl, how much it cost them to entomb that one reactor. Well, Japan's looking at 4 of them to entomb. And it's going to be kind of hard being right on the ocean coast to totally entomb and stop the radiation leak. Live trading, December 13th. From all that horribleness, I mean, it's just terrible. And now they're saying that they can't find the leak in Reactor 2 at Fukushima, and it's leaking like a sieve. And they don't know what to do. They can't find the leak. It's probably because it melted into the ground and went into a cavern. And the water's just running down in there. There's lots of caves along coastlines. Don't you know? Next, North Korea launched a long-distance rocket that is capable of carrying nuclear warheads. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta says that the missile test was a provocation and threatened Iran-style sanctions against North Korea. CNN, December 12th. And they launched a satellite, didn't they? So it was a satellite. And they're saying, well, their satellite's tumbling freely into space. No, it's probably because they set it up and instead of having a gyro system in it, they put a spin on it. A lot of the early satellites that we created, they shot them up and they spun them when they came out of the final sheathing at the end of the missile tip. So it would spin to create a centrifugal force to keep it in orbit and balanced. It's probably not tumbling at all. Next, U.S. Congressman Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich introduced a resolution requiring Attorney General Eric Holder to provide legal justification for the president to order the use of drones to kill people without benefit of due process. If this resolution passes Congress, it will not put an end to the death by drone, but would force the president to provide legal documents justifying it. The problem with this is that the documents easily could be declared top secret, supposedly to protect national security, so the net effect could be zero. New American, December 12th. At least these two are trying to do something. I don't see the rest of Congress or the Senate's doing anything offhand to stop the NDAA and other madness that's been passed in by our pencil-whipping president. Okay, next. Research shows that a diet rich in apples and pears lowers the risk of stroke by up to 52%. Natural Society, December 12th. Health foods, you know, you gotta eat your fruits. New Hampshire police tasered a woman who does not speak English when she failed to understand their demand to leave a store. The store manager had asked police to remove her when she attempted to video record customers purchasing iPhones more than what she was trying to get. She was trying to get 2 iPhones. They were buying more than 2, and she was complaining about that, and this guy got mad at her and told her to leave. When she wouldn't, they called the police. The important issue here, though, is that the tasers are potentially lethal weapons to be used only as a last resort to subdue those who present an imminent threat to the police officers. Increasingly, they now are being used even against non-threatening individuals who easily could be subdued by traditional martial art techniques in which police are well trained. Prison Planet, December 12th. That's right, she ordered these on the internet from the store and was going there to pick them up. And then she had an argument with the store clerk, store manager, and the next thing you know is he calls the police and demands her out of there, and the police guy goes, okay, pulls his taser out and tasers her, as if that's some type of harmless device that he's got there. No, if you hit somebody with the right moment between pulses of the heart, you'll give them a heart attack right on the spot, and they'll drop and die, unless there's immediate refibrillation from the defibrillator. The taser is reversed. Anywho, next, International Monetary Fund document from 1999 exposes gold manipulation by Western central banks. The central banks were excused from making public how much gold they actually held, as distinguished from loans, swaps, and other paper derivatives. The reason for excusing them was that this information is market sensitive. That means that if the information were made public, it would affect the market price of gold. If the public were to learn that the amount of gold held by the central banks was but a tiny fraction of what they claimed, the price of gold would launch into outer space. People would demand physical delivery of gold they thought they bought with paper, paper receipts saying, we owe you so much gold. The gold could not be delivered, and the bullion banks such as J.P. Morgan would have to close their doors. Yep, market sensitive, all right. You don't want the people to know you don't have the merchandise to cover the paper. King World, December 12th. That's right. That's what it's all about. They sell you paper. This is what the banksters did a long time ago. The same thing. You know, the money makers, the people who used to deal with money. They had gold, and suddenly they come up with this ideal, and they could just make up this paper and hand it out and say, yes, I have this much gold in my vaults, and they didn't. Well, they're still using that technique today. Anywho, next, U.S. too big to jail. The federal government lets London banking giant HSBC off the hook by settling for $1.9 billion in fines for money laundering, but, as usual, fails to indict any bank executive or managers for the crime. Banksters will continue to fleece the public as long as they remain free of personal accountability for their actions. New York Times, December 11th. And that's what we're doing. We're letting them get away with it. It's almost like we're rewarding them. We're charging them $10 for a $1,000 fine. That's what that basically is. You want to put it in perspective. Anyway, next, Russia. The government has disclosed that over the past few decades, enormous amounts of nuclear waste and even decommissioned nuclear reactors have been dumped into the Arctic Ocean. Bellona posted December 11th. Yeah, they've been dumping up there, and these things are going to corrode, and they're going to release their payload into the Arctic Ocean. Just nothing like having a Fukushima in the Arctic, or a Chernobyl, too, in the Arctic from Russia, with love. Man, these people are just mad. This is madness. I don't know why they didn't build an entombment for them like they did on the surface in this entombment with lead cement. What's wrong with these people? Let's just go dump it in the ocean. You know, every 8 feet's a foot of lead, or every 8 yards or something is a foot of lead. We'll just dump it in the ocean. Yeah, but then it breaks out. It's not contained. It flows around like liquid, like Fukushima is, polluting the entire Pacific Ocean, poisoning all the fish in the area that come over to our coastal areas, and then our fishermen catch it and then put it on our market. Salmon are catched from Alaska, put in cans of salmon, and you're eating that. Just think how much of that is contaminated. Danger, Will Robinson. We are not living in a safe world anymore with money junkies and greedy bastards. Anyway, next, global warming myth maker David Keith, who was funded by Bill Gates, of course, the eugenicist, suggests spraying reflective particles into the atmosphere, which are what is called chemtrails, or is what is called chemtrails that you see today. Streaks of clouds from jets that go out, and then they spread through the whole sky and cover it and cause a overcast. And if you don't believe it, go look at pictures before the 1980s, middle 80s, before then. You'll not see a single chemtrail in the sky in any photographs anywhere. Why? Because they didn't exist. We had contrails back then that didn't do what these chemtrails do. They said this is to reduce sunlight and increase the ice level in the Arctic. Never mind that most recent natural cycle of global warming has ended and that ice sheets in the Antarctic once again are growing. How else can a university scientist, though, obtain his grants unless he lies and cheats and steals? This is the Daily Mail, December 11th. We're running out of the cycle. It's getting cold. I think the people in the UK are getting it, that global warming was a scam. I think people in Russia knew it, and they're knowing it right now. It's getting awfully snowy there. Feet of snow. I think a lot of people up there near Buffalo and stuff are starting to realize that with the snow, early snow that we had, the heavy 12 feet, just massive amount of snow. Madness, I tell you, madness. And they just keep trying to, Al Gore's got to make his money somehow. Obama plans to sell 20 fighter jets to Egypt in support of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is backed by President Morsi. Fox News, December 11th. And there it is, 20 jet fighters to Egypt, to the Muslim Brotherhood. So whose side are we on anyways anymore? I don't know what side the U.S. is on anymore. First, we're against Taliban, now we like them. We're against the Al-Qaeda, or the toilet, now we like them. We like the toilet. Now it's this Muslim Brotherhood, which supposedly Obama has personal advisors in the White House from that particular brotherhood. Well, anyways, let's move on here. Just madness, more madness. Fox News, December 11th. Okay. The Bank for International Settlements, the coordinating center of the world central banks, warns that assets like bonds are greatly overpriced. That means market assets are facing a downward correction if their monetary value, and that means investors holding these assets will take a financial loss. Their losses likely will materialize first as a fall in the price of those assets, following in the long run by an increase in prices, which will not be a true rise in value, but merely an effect of rampant inflation. News Sky, December 10th. Man, the banksters are at it again, just robbing and raping the planet. Don't you know? Alrighty, next on the list here, let's go to this video. Syrian rebel direct a child to behead an unarmed prisoner. That's right, they had an unarmed prisoner. They had beheaded by a child. These rebels, so-called mercenaries, are getting out of hand. You know, they're bought and paid for between the British and UK, and the British and the United States, the US, are financing these critters. And that's who's going over there, so they can cause enough disturbance and enough to take over Syria so they can get into Iran and get to their mineral wealth. That's what it's all about. You know, again, remember, Iran hasn't had an aggressive war in 200 years. They have not been an attacker. They've been a defender. When Iraq attacked, they defended themselves. They didn't go and attack them over their borders. That never happened. See, they're defensive. order. Like the United States used to have a defense. Now we're an offense. We don't have a defensive budget. We have an offensive budget. It says, why do we think this atrocity should be in unfiltered news? Well, because the Obama administration has backed these same American-hating rebels and has given them over 200 million, that's right, 200 million of U.S. taxpayers' money. Since you, the American people, are paying for it, we think you should know about it. Don't you know? You should. Should make you madder than hell and not going to take it anymore. InfoWars, December 10th. We got to get these criminals out of our government. They're turning our country into a third world dictatorship. Ask Obama, he'll tell you so. He is the dictator. Again, UK. The sister of two men who were convicted of a terror plot was sentenced to a year in prison for downloading a copy of an Al Qaeda magazine on her cell phone, the toilet magazine. The woman committed no crime and said that she was trying to understand the ideology of her brother's actions. The judge said he believed that she had no criminal intent, but sent her to prison anyway. Comment: if she really was sympathetic to the Al Qaeda, sending her to a prison for a year would only strengthen her beliefs of what the Al Qaeda was saying. If she were not sympathetic to Al Qaeda, sending her to prison surely would make her so. Don't you know? InfoWars, December 9th. Madness again. Madness. That's what I call upside down and inside out law. Just up is down and down is up. Black is white. Green is opposite with yellow and makes blue. And Egypt. President Morsi rescinded from some of his dictatorial powers to calm opposition as the referendum vote approaches for the new constitution that is heavily influenced by Islam and Sharia law. Well, the Sharia law is bad enough in itself. That law is just a barbaric law. It really is. It shouldn't be allowed on its point. It should be considered a hate crime to any country that uses it. His opponents have rejected the compromise, so Morsi has given the military authority to arrest civilians ahead of the vote this week in an attempt to head off more mass protests. LA Times, December 9th. That's right. The Sharia law should be illegal under the Geneva. It should be under Geneva Conference. It should be illegal to have this law. I mean, this law is just barbaric. It's a barbaric law. It outlived itself back in the 1700s. And it shouldn't exist today. It's just overly barbaric. We're above that now. They're apparently not. The people are madmen in those countries. U.S. The livestock on farms near oil and gas drilling sites have been falling sick and dying. Chemicals from fracking operations are suspect as the cause. Experts fear that exposed animals, even if not made ill, are infecting the human food supply because these chemicals are getting into the animal's flesh and blood, and you're eating it. And so therefore it's transmitting these same chemicals into you that are making them ill and killing them. Do you not understand yet? Fracking is not a good thing, especially how they're doing it. They need a better way of doing it. If they just used compressed hot steam or something about using some type of breakdown, like petroleum products and stuff, or even like turpentine or something, it breaks down the oil to liquefy it out of the rocks. There's got to be a better way of extracting except those chemicals, because those chemicals don't go away. You know what they do with the excess chemical? They go out, and the chemical they get back out of there, when they pump it back out, they go out and they dump it into a well in the ground, and they dig a hole and put it down deep in the ground and say, it'll go away. Sure, after it soaks into the water table, it'll dilute and cause it to spread everywhere. 1 part per million probably causes cancer. Anyway, NBC posted December 9th. Man, it's Money junkies, greed to get this stuff out of the ground when they don't need to. It's horrible. As to people that live near fracking, how they like their water taste and everything, and that some of it's actually flammable. Oh man. Video. The Obama administration has approved a plan requiring all new cars to have black box data recorders to track speed, brakes, erratic steering, and safety belt use. Initially, data will be retained only from previous few seconds or minutes, which would make it useful for analyzing conditions leading up to a crash. However, like many such schemes, its capacity likely will be expanded in the future to track and trace you, to know what you do, where you go, and how you act. Most buyers are unaware that 96% of cars sold today already have a similar tracking devices in them. YouTube, December 8th. Next article. U.S. January 1st will usher in 3 new taxes to fund Obamacare. They will raise investment and income tax on top earners and a new tax on medical supplies and devices. So your bills will be going up. People thinking that you're getting a break? No. Additionally, a new health insurance tax will go into effect in 2014. Fox News, December 8th. And it's not going to save you anything. The people who think they're going to get free medical, it's going to turn into the opposite. You just go hide and see. Go hide and wait and see it happen. Because apparently you're not going to stand up and say no to it. You think you're getting a freebie. There's no freebies from the government. When are you going to learn that government gives no freebies? There's always a string attached. John Hopkins, cancer surgeon, makes shocking statement about the medical system. He admits just about everything you feared was going on in the healthcare profession. Everything. Death panels. Pushing drugs on you to make a profit. Cancer with a cure, and they won't give it to you because they claim they can only treat you. There's no cures, just treatment. As long as they can treat you, the more money they make until you drop dead from the treatment. There's no cures. Remember that. The cures are there, but they will never give them to you. And that's how things go. John Rappaport, December 8th. The analysis section. Here we go with the first analysis. U.S. Man battles the IRS on the basis that even though he receives payment for his work, it is not taxable income according to the law. His case is heading towards the Supreme Court. Foundation for Truth in Law. You gotta read this. December 13th. It says that if you happen to go and buy your gas to get to work, buy your food, buy your rent, pay your rent or pay payments on your house, whatever you're paying payments on, that should not be taxable. That should be a deduction automatically. Anything you're paying out of your pocket to survive on should not be taxed. And that's just the start of it. Basically, you shouldn't be taxed at all. They're supposed to get their taxes from just the corporations and from import and exports. And that's where the government's supposed to get it. That's all they were allowed to get it from. They illegally put in the 14th, 16th Amendments, and now you're paying taxes. That's how they got away with it. And remember, right after World War II, you know how much tax was? It was 5%. Now look at it. It's closer to what? 20%? Some people 25%. But for Mittens and other corporate businessmen, and I guess Obama, if he can find loopholes too, it's only 14 or less. Or none at all. Man. That's what's going on there. Next, U.S. The 10th Amendment Center shows 4 ways that you can help stop your state to stop Obamacare. Yes, you can stop Obamacare. All you have to do is get your state behind it. The 10th Amendment. It's what it's all about. December 12th. That was probably one of the reasons why they had the Lincoln Abraham Lincoln. He wasn't in there to free the slaves. No. He was in there to keep the southern states from receding from the Union. His whole idea was to keep the Union together. And he would have been for slavery 100% if it would help him keep the Union together. But that wasn't what it was. It was the southern states wanted to sell their cotton independently to Europe and England, and go through the North textile companies of the Union. And so they wanted to recede using their 10th Amendment rights. Well, you'll find out that Abraham Lincoln was an anti-10th Amendment person. He did not like the 10th Amendment. He liked big government, one government controlling all states and all actions. He was a control freak in his own way. Yep, that's what it was. Don't believe me? Do your research. Video. Ben Swan explains the history behind nullification of the 10th Amendment. Nullification is a concept that states have the right and duty to reject federal laws that violate the Constitution. Florida Republican State Senator Don Gletz says that nullifiers should be shot and hung. YouTube, December 11. Wow. That's it. You're not allowed to have a state that controls itself. You know, that's the reason for the 10th Amendment. I don't know if many people know that. The 10th Amendment was, if you didn't like the laws in one state, you could move to a state where they had the laws you liked. But when the federal government gets over everything and passes laws of the land, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run. You're stuck under whatever dictatorial power that the Washington District of Criminal gives you in that 10-mile square area. The 10th Amendment is one of the most important amendments in the Constitution. And it's being nullified and watered down by District of Criminals in Washington, D.C., whose only job is to deal with trades and with keeping the peace and keeping invaders out of our country. That's all their job is. They don't have no jobs doing what they're doing. That's not their job. It's not in the Constitution. The states are supposed to take care of themselves independently. Alrighty, here's another video. Political analyst F. William Ingodahl says that Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, which is pushing an agenda to institute Sharia law, is secretly backed by the U.S. It is as part of a broader plan to create Islamic fascist regimes all across the Middle East. These regimes are exactly what are needed to frighten the world into feeling grateful for the U.S. military intervention in that region, so they can go over there and keep the industrial military complex building bombs and bullets and keep them rich. Nothing unifies people behind a dictatorship better than a dreaded war or a dreaded enemy. And the CIA is expert at creating exactly that. YouTube, December 9th. And they create wars. They create these situations. They create fear. They create terror. They keep you believing the government's going to protect you from terrorists. They think they're going to protect you from lone mad gunmen on Prozac that go out and shoot people. They want you to believe that. And they want to take your guns away and say the police will do it. Well, that police officer tasing that lady at the store, and other cases you can find hundreds if you just go into YouTube and say police abuse or anything in that search thing, police tasering or police beating up somebody, you'll find hundreds of videos that people took on the street with their iPhones and other cameras showing the police abusing their powers. And you want to trust them with just the ones having the guns? All it will be criminals, and criminals with a badge and a gun. Criminals with guns and criminals with badges and guns. That's the only thing you'll have, and the people will be the victims. It's just not right. You've got to have armed people. People should be allowed. That school shooting is a perfect example. If teachers were allowed to be armed, how many people you think that gunman would have got away with before he was dropped? Maybe 2, 3, maybe even up to 5 people instead of 27? Think about it. He could have been dropped a lot sooner if the teachers were armed. He wouldn't have got away with what he was doing. Let's put it that way. Man, it's just amazing that people can't see the logic in that. Just can't see the logic. I mean, there's so many examples out there. A father and daughter was in a McDonald's, and these guys come in there with guns to rob it. Well, guess what? They didn't get very far of robbing, and they didn't get to shoot anyone. I think they got away with shooting one person before he realized what was going on, pulled his gun, and dropped both of them on the spot. There's in there, you can Google it. It's out there. There's many cases, many cases. What about the guy who's in the little casino place? What about him? Oh, yeah, the guy was in the casino, one of these little casino places. It's one of those little gaming halls they have in states that don't have, like Las Vegas or Atlantic City, and it's one of those places like that. And he was sitting in there, 70-something-year-old guy, had a gun, had a permit to carry a gun concealed. These guys come in there and start kicking everybody's. It was in a matter of fact, there's people in there like a Wi-Fi hotspot. And these guys came in there and started throwing their laptops off into the floor and stuff, and started demanding people's wallets and rings and everything. This guy pulls a gun out and starts shooting at them. Guess what? They didn't stay around very long, and they were rounded up later because one of them was wounded. Yep, this is what I'm saying. Criminals are afraid of people who are armed, and if they don't know if you're armed, they will not attack anyone, because they won't know who has a gun and who doesn't. That's why it should be legal for anyone to carry an arm if they want to. Because criminals won't go out of their way to do anything unless they want to get shot. And they're the number one person who does not want to get shot. Anyways, I'm sitting here going off on a babble. I'm babbling on. Anyways, Americans are the most spied-on people in the world history, with information being collected from phone calls, emails, internet searches, bank records, credit card purchases, health records, and more. The information is stored to be used to define or imprison anyone who becomes critical of government policies or leaders. See, if you ever they're collecting this information so they can round you up if you go against anything that's draconian or tyrannical or dictatorial towards the people in general and yourself. That's what this is all about. It's called the new USSA, new Nazism. Believe me, the fascist country is we're in a fascist right now. We have corporations ruling our government and making them do what they do. That's what we have. We have that's fascism. And we have companies running the government for a profit, to make a bigger profit. Think about all the private prison systems that are out there making money off of building factories connected to these prisons, these private prisons, and they're paying the inmates 25 cents an hour. It's basically, it's the Chinese example in America. They got people working for $0.25 an hour building the same things that people were making $16, $18, $23 an hour in unions were making. This is just what's wrong with the country. We're going down the tubes. We're becoming banana republic, as they call them. Third world country. Welcome to the third world America. This is from Washington Blog, December 8th. That's it. Now it's the cool down moment. Time to see its amazing picture. The variety of birds on Earth is phenomenal. The producers of this short video call it evolution. We call it creation. Either way, click and be amazed at this video. And then you have great photos. Here's another one, reflections. This is in the Kremlin. It looks like they just got a sheet of water going over the walkway there and the pavement stuff, and it's causing a perfect reflection of the sky. It makes the ducks look like they're standing on the sky. With the Kremlin in the background. And to the humor for this week. Here's your humor. Here's another humor. Click and enjoy this. 3 dogs walk into a bar. And there they are, the 3 dogs walking to the bar. And then you got your unfiltered forum for this week. And it's about what I was talking about. Reader wants book about Lincoln removed from reality zone. Says it's being dishonest and everything about Lincoln, but it's basically true. at the end of this, where he says that Lincoln would have been for anything to keep the Union, keep the United States as one state, is what it is, what we got today. One state, not different states. It's basically one state under District of Criminals. So that's it for this week. If you have a good weekend, I hope you do. It seems like it's going to be mellow here, and it's going to rain, I guess.